Hey everybody, and welcome to today's video in which we are going to model this dining chair. Now, I only have two images of this chair, so which is this one from the back and this one from the front to help me as reference. But now I also have a blueprint which I can follow, which is the front viewport and the left viewport or the side viewport. If you want to see how exactly I created both of these blueprints, and they're also, if I go and unhide everything, you'll notice that in the middle I have a bounding box which is more or less exactly the size in real life scale how this or how big this chair should be. And if you're curious how this thing was all created, check out the previous videos and we can start by modeling this chair right here. For starters, I'm gonna go and select my bounding box, right click and hide this thing because I don't actually need it for now. And I'm going to go into my left viewport, and in here hold down Control and right click. From here I'm going to choose plane. This is basically a quick way of selecting a plane to create it. Otherwise I would have to go in the create and choose the plane from here. I want to create one plane about here. There we go, like this. I'm gonna go and Alt X this thing so I can see see through it and see the actual blueprint for this thing. So right click, convert to an editable poly. All right, awesome. Now let's start and move these things into more of a position that's gonna be acceptable for us, like this. Don't worry about the geometry for now. We're just trying to set a few edges that are going to be the corner ones. So I'm going to select one like this and put it over there. Now, once we create these edges on the left viewport, what we're going to do is go into the front viewport over here. So I'm going to select my I'm actually going to select all of them and put them all the way to here. Now I'm going to try and get these things to follow along like so. There we go. Like that. And now select both of these at the back, and we know that they should be here. So as you can see, we have quite a bit of a sharp corner here, which is okay for now. Don't worry about it. The way that we're going to create this is with the edge. I'm going to go and put in some extra edges. So I'm going to hold down Shift and try with this, but as I can see, since the distance between both of these is too big, which is going to create one. So this is with the Swift loop. Click once, and now here's the thing. When you're creating something from the left viewport, you want to try and select both of these, move them upwards like this, so they're up in the front viewport there correctly. But you're going to notice that if I try to move this thing down, now you're going to lose the front viewport. So this is what happens when you don't have a top viewport from which you can work around. This means that once you place the height or define the height in the front viewport, when you're in your left viewport, you're not actually, you shouldn't, I'm not going to say you're not allowed, but you shouldn't move this thing on the y-axis because you're going to screw up your front viewport. Instead, we're going to go and move this thing to the back. So now here in this viewport, we can control how deep this thing is. And now as you can see, it's following this line, but instead of screwing it up in the front viewport, it's still within bounds of where we want it to be, which is okay. Now I'm going to add in another edge here. Again, move this thing up till about there and there. And now in here, go in, move it on the x axis. Again, Don't move it on the Y, otherwise you're gonna have problems here. Let's add in just one more over there. Move that thing there and this one up. Awesome. And we're slowly starting to get that turn. And now if you take a look at our chair, it's starting to get that turn that we have in our chair. Great. Now I'm probably gonna have to add in one more edge in here so that I can get this thing to be there. All right, what I'm gonna do here, just so I'm not seeing this black, is turn off the standard. Actually, it is on standard, so I guess lighting is faces like so, and add in just one more edge, and this edge should help with, there you go, height like so. Move it back, and we can work with this. Awesome. Now let's go and create the rest of this portion of the chair here. So I'm going to select these edges, both of them, hold on shift, click once till about there, and one more time till we get to about there. All right, awesome. Now what I'm going to actually do right while I'm still at this point is move this thing upwards. Well, actually go and select both of these, move it upwards like that, add in one extra edge here, and this should help with getting this turn. All right, great. Let's check it out. Yeah, actually I'm happy with how this thing is looking like. So now the way that I want to do this is I'm going to select this edge right there, hold on shift, pull it all the way back like so, and now I know exactly how many or how far I want this thing to be, since it's going to be at the middle. So I can think ahead a bit in this case, because I can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 divisions here as well. So I'm going to go in and click 1, 2, 3, 4 edges. Now the way that this thing works is that I'm going to select both of those vertices and snap them over there. So now they're exactly at that same point as this vertex over here. So I have I'm moving those vertices on the X and Y, and I have them snapped to there. So I'm going to select this thing, again move them and snap them over there. Move this, snap over here, like so. Move both of these and snap them over there. Move this one, snap it over there. Great. Now I'm actually getting that same shape for the chair. Let's check it out in the side viewport. It's looking fine. All right, now I just want to select these, and since this thing is protruding a bit less than this one, I'm actually going to go in and move them in manually like this. All right, awesome. Now the problem that I'm seeing here is I'm getting a bit of a jaggedy edge over here as well as over here, and if I take a look at my chair, you're going to see that it's very, very rounded. Now we are going to be working with Turbo Smooth, but that is with the help of the Turbo Smooth we are going to get some nicer smoothing, but it's going to be even better if we have even distribution of these polygons. And the easiest way to get that, once you actually have something like this created, is like this. What you're going to do is you're going to open up your modeling ribbon, and with the edge selection you can go in here now, select this edge, for example, hit set flow. This thing is going to move it in exactly the center point between the two neighboring edges. So set flow on each of these edges like that. And now we're gonna get a very nice division of all of those polygons. You can notice that now all of the distance between these polygons is more or less the same. So we can do the same thing over here. So again, click on set flow, set flow, set flow, and set flow. But this should help us hold that form better. And just go in on the side, check, move some of these to the back a bit until we get it like so. All right, great. So we have this half of the chair done, and let's try and see how this thing is going to look with a symmetry. Before we do that, I'm going to check my pivot only and snap this thing at the bottom over there, which is great. Now I'm going to turn on or put on a symmetry on the z-axis, and I can see that now this chair is going all the way across. Honestly though, at the moment I think I'm missing a few edges that I probably want to add in. I think my chair is a bit too on the low polygon, but so I can just hold down shift, click, 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 and this should help with that issue. All right, like so. Still, I think this thing is going out a tad bit too much, but we'll see. As soon as we add in the turbo smooth on this thing, it should help with smoothing it up. Yeah, but still have this thing a bit of a ridge. We can just fix this fairly quickly by just moving in this thing to the back a bit. This one as well. And there we go. That kind of fixes up that problem. All right, so let's turn off the turbo smooth and continue modeling the backside. Once the main form is created, next thing would be to give it some thickness. The thickness is actually really easy to create. All you gotta do is just drop on a shell modifier on top of this thing. Make sure that it's going in the right direction till about there. I think this is gonna be fine. There we go. And now if we put on a turbo smooth on top of this, we're gonna get a smooshy result because we are lacking some support edges. So let's go ahead and add in those support edges. I'm gonna turn on, I'm gonna put edit poly on top of the shell. And now I wanna have a support edge around this edge over here and around the outer border. As I can see here, the edges on this chair are very sharp. So we have a very sharp transition. That means we don't have to care too much about making it a beveled edge. But again, we're gonna have to go over the whole thing. So double click. Double click on this thing. I want to get everything at once, so like that. This thing on this side, like that. All right, so we have everything selected, and from here I want to go and chamfer this. And the chamfer is going to be a very small amount, like I said. We want to have a pretty sharp turn or a sharp transition, something very small like that. I'm going to put in two segments like that, so 0.075, that's fine. That's fine as well. So let's go and click OK. All right, now the only place that I did see as an issue is probably going to be this corner over here. Mainly because we're going to have something like this. So we're going to select these three vertices, collapse them into one. Select these three, collapse them into one. Turn around this side. Do the same thing again. Collapse them into one. Collapse them into one. Let's check and see if there is any more on this side. Yes, there is one more over here at the bottom. All right. Of course, this is going to be like that. Collapse. And just as soon as I'm finished with this, I'm actually going to go ahead and symmetry this over to the other side so I don't have to do the other side as well. All right, great. So add in another symmetry on the z-axis. And this kind of fixes up the other side problem as well. So turn on Turbo Smooth here. 2 iterations should help us get a nice result. If you get this issue, this is basically the symmetry screwing up with the threshold. So reduce the threshold. So a very small threshold should fix this. And here's that issue that I did notice at the beginning. So basically what I'm seeing here as a problem is that this edge here should come in a tiny bit like this, so it's not that protruding. All right, I think this is going to be better now. All right, more or less it's going to work. All right, so we have this form for the back of the chair. If I take a look at here, I actually do have this thing. Well, it is exactly how I can see it on the image. This bottom part here is rounded up a bit, same as I have it here. I have rounded edges here. So I'm actually pretty happy with how this thing looks like, except for this edge, but we'll fix up that thing later, so it's finer details. So let's continue with creating the side for, well, actually not the side, but the part for the seat. Creating the seat for this thing is actually not that hard because we haven't collapsed our stack of modifiers here. That means that I can come over to the symmetry modifier, put on an extra edit poly, select my polygons over here like these, just these. I don't need the other part because again we're working with symmetry, so I can detach these as a clone. Turn it off. Well, actually, you know what? Let's put in one. Nah, this is gonna screw it up. All right, so delete this edit poly that we just created. Turn on the Turbo Smooth, and now I have one more edge here. I can see right this thing. All right, great. So now what I can do is select this edge that I just created, and in the side viewport move it until I get it to about there. All right, and what I can see also here is that once I'm putting on the Turbo Smooth, I'm losing a bit of volume, which means that I can go in here, select these vertices, turn on the show cage, and with the show end result and the Turbo Smooth on, I can click and drag this thing to the back a bit until it kind of gets to the point where I need it to be in with the Turbo Smooth applied. So move it to the back a bit like so. All right, now the form for this backside is fixed, and I have exactly where I want this thing to be. I want to add a symmetry on this thing on the Z axis like so, and put an edit poly. with the edit poly thing on, select everything, flip it around, because at the moment the polygons are facing inwards. So flip, select both of these, bridge them together. I'm going to isolate this thing for now and just go ahead and, well, actually, you know what? Let's go select the border, cap this thing, and now simply select these opposing vertices and right click and connect, or if you have a shortcut like I do, just go in and manually connect them together. Once you come to this portion over here, you can use the cut tool over here. Cut a straight line from this vertex over here all the way to the front. But before I actually do that, I want to go and select all of these lines and put a connect through them. That means that line is going to be smack in the middle. So I'm not going to have any issues later on if I put on any symmetry on it. There we go, like this. If I put a turbo smooth on top of this thing now and anti-isolate, I'm actually getting exactly what I need, as you can see. So click and drag this thing upwards like that. Let's check the back. You can see that I need to move this thing a bit more to the back to fill in this gap. So, all right. Or I can do also is add in a few more edges. So one edge over there. Let's put a symmetry on top of this thing so it kind of follows exactly. There we go. Showing results. Show the cage. So let's move it till about there. And we get the height for this thing to follow along. All right, so we get this thing to this position, and now when we continue, we're going to try and add in some of the extra details that I can see, like this stitching over here and creating this backrest over here as well. But before we continue, I'm actually going to cut this video here, cut it short here, because we've been going on for like 20 something minutes. And in the next video, we're going to continue with modeling the rest of this chair and then proceed to unwrap it. So for now, I hope you guys had fun and you managed to learn something new. If you do have any questions, leave them below. I will meet you in the comment section of the video. And if you enjoyed this video, then please click the like button. And if you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.